Report. Welcome, everybody, to the Knicks and Bulls preview show here on Bleacher Report and on YouTube. At the same time, we got a lot of things to talk about with these New York Knicks. A lot of news to break down as we are entering the Knicks back end of the season after the All-Star break. A lot of fun things to talk about with the New York Knicks. We got a big game tonight at MSG, taking on the Chicago Bulls. But then there's two games that are very important coming up right after the fact, which is against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. The two teams that are right above the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference standings. So I'm very, very excited to break it all down right here on Knicks Media. We're live on Bleacher Report. We're live on YouTube. We appreciate everybody that is tuning into this show right now. So let's get straight into business. So the first thing I want to talk about is Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson this season has been absolutely flawless. And you see the stats on your screen here, folks. We talked about it on Tuesday. Jalen Brunson is doing something we've never seen before since the NBA started to take track of turnovers. Jalen Brunson is the first player ever to put up 25-plus points per game, 7-plus assists, and turn over the ball 2.5 times or less. Okay, that is absolutely sensational for our guy JB, and I wanted to start off just by talking about him because everything he is doing right here is just flawless for the New York Knicks, and I cannot wait to continue watching this man develop his game. And let's not forget, Jalen Brunson played his best version of ball at the back end of the season last year, right? That's something that I think every Knicks fan remembers. You know, after the All-Star break, that version of Jalen Brunson was just different. He was going out there just balling, putting up like 30, 35 points a game. And that's the cool thing about Jalen Brunson that I absolutely love is whenever the pressure is at its highest, he levels up his game. And I think as of right now, where it stands, JB is having the best season of his entire NBA career. Right, last year he was 5th in MVP voting. I don't think he's going to be 5th in MVP voting this year unless he just goes absolute scorched earth in the back end of the season. But we're seeing a different version of JB, a more efficient, getting his teammates involved, winning, okay? This is Jalen Brunson's stats for this season so far, and it has been an absolute joy to watch him play ball. And he's also on pace, in my opinion, to be the front runner to win Clutch Player of the Year. I mean, you guys tell me, is there another guy out there that's going to win Clutch Player of the Year over Jalen Brunson? He's one of the best players in the entire NBA in the clutch right now, which is a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun. So that's big news. Now, I do want to talk about some unfortunate news for the New York Knicks. We talked about it on the channel that the Knicks are getting healthy right now. They are getting healthy right now. But unfortunately, there's a specific player that's not going to be playing in tonight's game. Josh Hart is out with an injury, man. He has some type of knee injury that all of a sudden came out of nowhere. There was a report last week where somebody, I forgot who exactly it was, it may have been The Athletic, that brought up that Josh Hart's dealing with a knee problem, and people just said, nah, don't worry about it. Josh Hart himself, I believe, went on X and posted like it's not a big deal, right? And then he goes out there on X and says it's not a big deal. And now all of a sudden we're seeing that it is a big deal. I mean, he's out. What does this mean? Now, my optimistic self is hoping that this just tells me that the Knicks are playing it safe and they know that they're doing a back-to-back and they don't want Josh Hart playing on a back-to-back. So they're prioritizing Josh Hart tomorrow night at Cleveland, then this game against the Chicago Bulls. That's at least what I'm hoping for. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but definitely some not good news for the New York Knicks regarding the injury bug. I talked about the Knicks being fully healthy right now, and then this absolutely comes out of nowhere. But the good news is OG Anunoby is back from injury. OG Anunoby is back from injury, ladies and gentlemen, and that should get you fired up if you're a New York Knicks fan because he was a full participant in practice, and he should be playing tonight for the New York Knicks against the Chicago Bulls. So we're missing out on Josh Hart, but you're adding in OG Anunoby, and I think the Knicks can definitely win tonight even without Josh Hart against the Chicago Bulls. No disrespect to Chicago, but the Knicks have proven that they can beat even good teams even when their best players are out. When OG Anunoby was out since the Lakers game, the Knicks have been flawless. I mean, Precious Achiuwa has stepped in tremendously for the New York Knicks to sub in, putting up, what was that, 26 points the other night as a starter. So the Knicks will be fine without Josh Hart. My only concern is, of course, for the rest of the season, is this going to be a lingering injury? But the fact that OG Anunoby is back from injury should get a lot of Knicks fans fired up. A lot of Knicks fans should be fired up right now about that breaking news. So big time shout out to OG because he's the unsung hero. If there was one guy in the Knicks that impacts this game the most in terms of winning basketball, outside of course, the star talent of Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, it's OG. And you can even make an argument for Josh Hart. I get that. But OG brings such a uniqueness to this defensive ability, getting his hands in the passing lanes, being that elite perimeter defender. And the fact that he's back right now is definitely some really positive news for the New York Knicks. Speaking of positive injury news, big Mitchell Robinson is on his way back. Woo! If you guys know me, I'm a big fan of Mitchell Robinson. I actually am. I always like to remind the people about this because it's really fun to say this. Me and Mitchell Robinson have the same exact birthday and year. So I always call him my long-lost twin, right? He just happens to be 7 foot, and I'm, 5'11". It's all good, though. Listen, man, Mitchell Robinson coming back. I don't think the NBA world remembers how dominant Mitchell Robinson was last season. The game slowed down for Mitch last year. He was leading the NBA in offensive rebounds before he got injured. I believe he had 30 more offensive boards before anybody. Earlier in the season last year, Mitch was dominating the NBA on the glass, getting second chance opportunities, blocking shots, rim protection, you name it. And if you can name a few things about the issues with the New York Knicks this season, what would you say? Rim protection. And guess what? Mitchell Robinson brings that rim protection. Add in OG Anunoby and what the Knicks have been doing with Karl-Anthony Towns. Mitchell Robinson also is a key reason why the New York Knicks were able to get those 2 series victories in the playoffs. Against the Cleveland Cavaliers 2 years ago in the first round, Mitchell Robinson dominated that series. I mean, he neutralized Jared Allen, protected the rim against Donovan Mitchell and Garland, went up against Evan Mobley down low, and he was dominating. I mean, it was Jalen Brunson, of course, that series, but Mitch was the glue. Mitch was the heart of that playoff series victory, in my opinion. And then even last year against Philadelphia, Mitch went out there and went toe-to-toe with Joel Embiid and beat him. I mean, he was a big reason why Joel Embiid was neutralized in that series. And then, of course, he got injured. And we did not see Mitch be able to help us against Miles Turner in round 2 last year against the Indiana Pacers. But Mitchell Robinson coming back from injury at this stage of the season is important. I'm expecting him to be back around March 1st. The first week of March is my projection of when Mitchell Robinson is going to come back. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the chat where you expect Mitchell Robinson to come back. And I think his role is going to be off the bench. And my biggest thing is, how is he going to work out with Karl-Anthony Towns, right? Big Karl-Anthony Towns. Oh my goodness, has he been a joy to watch this season for the New York Knicks. Look at Karl-Anthony Towns' stats for a second. If I told you when the Knicks traded for Cat that he was going to put up 24.7 points per game, 13.4 rebounds, which is second in the entire NBA, and look at the efficiency, folks. Look at the shooting percentages. 53 field goal percentage, and a staggering 43.8 percentage from downtown. That is mind-blowing. That is just absolutely absurd from Karl-Anthony Towns right there. Averaging 35 minutes a game. He has been a joy to watch, man. He is a definition of a star. And plugging him in with Mitchell Robinson, now, I'm not expecting Robinson to start by any stretch. I think Robinson's going to come off the bench, but that does not shy away from the fact that Tom Thibodeau is going to put Cat and Robinson on the court at the same time in certain packages, for sure. Cat has experience doing this in Minnesota with Rudy Gobert. Cat is right now the big man for the New York Knicks. I mean, he is playing like a big man, by the way, but we lack that rim protection. Can you imagine what the Knicks would look like with Mitch at the 5 and Cat at the 4 in certain instances? That is an absolute nightmare for opposing teams because you got to worry about Mitchell Robinson down low, and now you got to worry about Cat spotting up from downtown. I mean, that is, especially from the rebounding perspective, with Josh Hart on the court with them as well, we're going to get every single rebound. I mean, tell me we're not going to do that. So big shout out to Cat. His ability this season has been flawless. I mean, you can't ask for a better situation for the New York Knicks when it comes to Karl-Anthony Towns' ability to just be a star. And the fact that he's an all-star starter right now, I mean, that was flawless. I mean, seeing him go out there on Sunday for the All-Star game and represent the New York Knicks in the All-Star game, it's just like, it feels really good. I'm not going to lie, man. It really feels good that we have 2 New York Knicks in the All-Star game that is absolutely proving to be, the faces of the NBA. So right now we're live talking about the latest news for these New York Knicks. You guys let me know what you think about the latest news on the New York Knicks. There's a lot of things to talk about regarding these New York Knicks, whether it's, the health of Deuce McBride even. You got to mention he's dealing with a rib injury. He should be back tonight against the Chicago Bulls, which is going to be a big-time plus in this game. And I don't want to look ahead, right? But I'm going to look ahead. I have to, because the marquee matchup, in my opinion, is going to be this game right here. The Knicks and the Celtics on Sunday is going to be an awesome, awesome game. I cannot wait to see that game. Now, the Celtics have got the better of us this season so far, and I think it's time for the Knicks to get some revenge on Sunday. And we had them, but then they just blew us out on our home floor in the fourth quarter, which is very, very unfortunate. But a game that's happening right before that one is this one. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. tip-off, Knicks Cavaliers. And listen, I don't want to look past the Chicago Bulls game tonight. We got to win that game, but let's be honest here. The Knicks have a chance to really make a statement to the rest of the NBA that we are on the same level as the Cleveland Cavaliers and as the Boston Celtics. If you look at the Eastern Conference standings right now, the Knicks are the third seed behind the Cavs and the Celtics. And the fact that we are facing off against them in back-to-back games, the Knicks have a chance here. If we can take care of business tonight against Chicago and go into Cleveland and beat arguably the best, if not one of the best teams in the NBA, I mean the best team in the East for sure, in their home arena, and then go to Boston and beat them, boy, oh boy, there's going to be a lot of talking heads talking about the Knicks on Monday. All right? That is absolutely something we got to talk about. So I think that's awesome that the Knicks are able to go up against these two teams. Listen, I'll be okay with splitting between, the Cavaliers and the Celtics, but an opportunity to beat both of them, that gets me fired up. That gets me absolutely fired up, because these are the teams to beat. Right now, the New York Knicks are the third seed in the Eastern Conference. And say the NBA playoffs started tomorrow and the seedings are final. The Knicks would be, who's the sixth seed right now? Just to make sure I know. Because the Knicks would be facing off against the Detroit Pistons in round one, which is fascinating. Shout out to the Pistons. They're actually a good team now. Fun team with Cade Cunningham. So hypothetically, the Knicks beat the Pistons in round one. The Knicks are going to have to go up against Boston in round two, right? Boston will be facing off against Orlando Magic in round one, and that in this hypothetical scenario with the standings ending today. The Knicks being the third seed, we're going to have to go up against the Celtics in round two. So this is why this is important. We got to get through Boston and Cleveland if we want to go to the NBA Finals. And a lot of people are talking down on this Knicks team, saying that the Knicks are just a regular season team and they're not going to be able to do anything in the postseason. And that needs to be proven wrong, because the Knicks have 2 seasons in a row winning playoff series, but they have 2 seasons in a row losing in the second round. Let's be honest, folks. If the New York Knicks go to the second round this year and lose again and fall in the semifinals, a lot of people will be saying this was a failure. A lot of people will be saying this is a failed season for the New York Knicks, and I really hope that's not the case, because I believe that this Knicks team is destined for some big-time stuff right now, and I really, really hope that this Knicks team can go out there and get the job done and make a big impact in the postseason. And I feel like when you look at how this Knicks team is compared to the rest of the NBA, like, why not? Why can't this Knicks team do something special in the postseason? It's because you're worried about them getting injured, or what? If we're fully healthy, stack us up against anybody. I believe we would have went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year if we did not get hurt. The Knicks were up 2-0 against the Pacers when OG tore his hamstring, whatever he did there, and the Knicks were cruising in that series. The injuries just stockpiled up, man, and it was just too much. Absolutely too much. Unfortunate for the New York Knicks. But the good news is right now, the Knicks are getting healthy. All right, we talked about it already, but OG Anunoby being back from injury is massive. Let's not forget, when OG went down against the Lakers, you guys can tell me, everybody in the Knicks community all collectively gasped. OG, no! Because if OG got hurt, bro, if OG was down for the season or something like that, oh my goodness, we would be seeing a panic, because the impact of OG Anunoby on this team winning basketball games is so massive, and the fact that the Knicks dodged a bullet the way that they did is just, oh my God, I'm never going to take it for granted. When OG's back on the floor tonight, I'm going to appreciate it. And I love that the Knicks were smart with OG. They did not push him back out there before the All-Star break. He said he could have probably played, but a sprained foot is the best case scenario for that. I thought it could have been something like an Achilles or something devastating, but no. We cannot let the Knicks team, this Knicks team, get hurt all over again. And that's something that a lot of Knicks fans are traumatized with, I would say, from last season. You can argue the injuries was a big reason why the Knicks failed last year. And now you look at what Josh Hart's dealing with. I mean, that is an interesting situation that's going on. I think it's something that the Knicks are going to have to monitor, and they may have to let Josh Hart have some more rest days, because what matters the most is Josh Hart being 150% ready to go in the NBA playoffs, because that's what really matters. And I think that the Knicks are smart to make sure that they, don't bring these people into the ground. I'm talking to you, Tom Thibodeau, because these players play a lot of minutes. And if there was one criticism that is consistent amongst Knicks fans and NBA media people and talking heads talking about the New York Knicks, is that Tom Thibodeau does indeed drive his players into the ground. And the last thing we want to see is something like this come up, because we have to make sure that we are all able to go full strength for the rest of the season. Now, the one good thing I will say about the injury front is also Karl-Anthony Towns has proven that he's all good. I mean, let's not forget, Cat was dealing with that injury, and he still is, by the way. And I was getting a little concerned. I mean, let's be honest, folks. I was a little bit concerned about the Karl-Anthony Towns injury, because he started to play a little, not his normal self. When he hurt his finger, he started, struggling. And I'm like, bro, is this something that's going to linger on for the rest of the season? Because we went from Cat dominating the NBA to not playing good basketball. Let's be honest with ourselves, for his standards. And then he's like, watch this, I'm all good. Back-to-back 40-point games for the first time in his career, bro. Back-to-back 40-point games for the first time in his career. He's all good, folks. Don't you worry. Cat is here, and he is doing some great things for the New York Knicks. I mean, you look at the stats on the screen, it's just like, oh my goodness, you can't ask for a better situation. And then Jalen Brunson, I mean, what's your expectations for Jalen Brunson heading into the back end of the season? Because I am expecting him to get better. I mean, that's saying a lot, because he's been flawless, arguably. And the best part about Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks is his ability to stay calm, cool, collected in the highest pressured moments in the clutch. With the last 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, no matter how good or bad he's played up until that point, he's always on it. He is so able to get locked in mentally to the point where even if he misses 2 or 3 shots in a row late in the fourth quarter, he's still going to take that fourth shot and make it, and be a reason why the Knicks win basketball games. Okay, that is the best part about JB. And also, you can see Jalen Brunson kind of adjusting his game this season a little bit, slight tweaks. And the only reason why I'm saying that is he's adjusting to his new teammates. He's adjusting to Cat. I mean, he was not putting up 7.5 assists last year. I'm actually curious, what was the number last year? Because he is averaging a career high in assists per game. Last year, he had 6.7 assists, which is still, right around the same ballpark. But he's almost averaging a full assist per game higher. And the cool thing about JB is every single part of his game is improving year by year. The only thing that's a little down comparatively to last year is his points per game, but that's completely justifiable because now we have Cat. And last year, the Knicks had no Randall for a stretch of games, no OG for a stretch of games, so Jalen Brunson had to be the leading scorer. He had to put up 35 to 40 points a game in order to win. We couldn't rely on Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and Deuce McBride and, Precious Achiuwa to score points. So JB had to put the team on his back, which is why he put up a career-high 28.7 points per game. I don't expect him to match that this season. I do not at all, and that's okay. He does not need to match 28.7 points per game. If he finished off the season with these exact stats, I mean, he is absolutely a dog. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. So I think that Jalen Brunson has had a very good season so far, and I'm expecting him to continuously get better and better as the season goes on. So tonight, again, we're facing off against the Chicago Bulls. We can't look past the Bulls, man. I mean, I know they're 22 and 33. They made some big trades recently, but the Knicks got to take care of business tonight. And the devastating news is Josh Hart being out, but then the good news is OG coming out. And I know there's some people wondering, what's the latest on Mitchell Robinson? We did talk about it already, but I'm just going to talk about it again for those that missed it. Mitch is not playing tonight. all right? Mitchell Robinson is not ready to play just yet, but he's cleared for 5-on-5 and has not had any setbacks, and that's big, man. I was worried that Mitchell Robinson was going to have more setbacks as the season keeps going, because I think he had a setback in the offseason, which is why he, is eligible to play at this stage of the season. But big Mitchell Robinson, I would say the timetable to expect for Mitch is March 1st, first week of March, and his impact on this team is going to be great. He's not going to be out there tonight against the Chicago Bulls, but it's definitely something to consider moving forward, all right? Now, some other players on this Knicks team that deserves to be talked about is Mikal Bridges. Now, Mikal Bridges has had a very interesting season, and I think he low-key is, a big reason why the Knicks have been up and down, because he's been up and down this season. He's not been bad. He's not been great. He's been in the middle in my eyes as a Knicks fan, and he's adjusting to his new home. Can you imagine being a guy that's going from being the number one option on a basketball team to being like the third and fourth option and, trying to find his role here? So I think the Knicks with Mikal Bridges, he's only getting better as the season goes on. He has games where he's dominating. I remember that Christmas Day game against the Spurs this season. He took over the game and went crazy. And speaking of the Spurs, man, devastating NBA news we found out today. Victor Wembanyama done for the year. That is absolutely devastating to hear from an NBA fan. I mean, Victor Wembanyama, one of the faces of the NBA, young, bright stars. Hopefully he was okay, dealing with a blood clot in his right shoulder. Scary stuff, man. You hate to see one of the brightest stars in the NBA go down for the rest of the season. So definitely thoughts and prayers out there to Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs right now. But getting back to what we've been seeing from Mikal Bridges as of late, he's hot and cold. And you look at, these last few games for him, he hasn't really needed to shoot. And that's the funny thing about it. He put up 11 points in the overtime victory against the Atlanta Hawks, but he only shot the ball 8 times. And that's the thing about Bridges. He's adjusting to not getting a lot of shots. And that's what happens when you have a lot of, talented players around you. But against Boston, he only had 11 points. Toronto, 17. Against Houston, he had a good game, 9 of 18, shot the ball 18 times, put up 22-plus points. Back in January, Mikal Bridges had 28 points against Memphis, 27 points against the Kings in back-to-back games. That was awesome. So I feel like he's hot and cold, but the good thing about Mikal Bridges, he's always available. He's playing winning ball. He does not need to score to have an impact positively on the New York Knicks. He rebounds. He plays hard. He's playing defense. He's communicating. He's pushing the ball in transition. He's an efficient scorer. He's not just chucking up shots, which I like about Mikal Bridges. So I feel like he is definitely one of the Knicks' biggest wild cards. I will definitely agree with that. And I feel like at the end of the day, the Knicks got to be able to come out on top with Mikal Bridges getting better and better. He's played in every single game so far this season, which has been an absolute joy. Absolute joy. Folks, we're live right now on Bleacher Report and YouTube and X at the same time. We appreciate all the love here on the channel. We're really excited to continue breaking down Knicks coverage right here on Bleacher Report every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. EST. You got CP the Franchise, Knicks Fan TV got you covered Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is an awesome little rotation we got here on Bleacher Report. So let's continue to talk about it and get back into tonight's matchup. Some matchups to watch and what to look forward to for the New York Knicks in tonight's matchup. When it comes to some X factors tonight, I'm really excited to see Karl-Anthony Towns. I feel like, can he go back to that 2020 type of game? I feel like what we've seen from Karl-Anthony Towns, this matchup is definitely favorable for him. I think that the Chicago Bulls, they've definitely been struggling this season, finding their identity. Their defense has been really lackluster. So let's see. I mean, you got to always look at Nikola Vucevic as a weapon for the Chicago Bulls. He's still there. He's still effective. He's still a vet that's savvy. But listen, with the Chicago Bulls entering a new era after trading Zach LaVine, you got to be able to get this W. You got to be able to get the W. The one guy on the Bulls that always scares me coming to the Knicks is Kobe White. I don't know why, but Kobe White is one of those Knick killers that just comes to the Garden and just plays like he's Steph Curry in his prime. So watch out for Kobe White going nuts. It feels like, and Knicks fans that are watching this can definitely relate to what I'm talking about here. He, for whatever reason, just balls out every time he faces up against the New York Knicks. So they definitely got to be careful about that. I'm also keeping an eye on the New York Knicks bench tonight. Deuce McBride is expected to be back. He missed some time. And I feel like the bench is such an underrated piece of this Knicks team. With Josh Hart ruled out tonight, that's another thing you got to look at. So with the addition of OG to the lineup, but the subtraction of Josh Hart, that's going to cancel it out. Precious, I'm assuming, is still going to start in replacement of Josh Hart. And then the bench, with Deuce coming back, Cameron Payne is going to be another big piece. Landry Shamet, Ariel Hukporti, is he going to get some minutes tonight with Josh Hart not playing? So I think there's a lot of different options. The Knicks can go off the bench. And you look at what, Tom Thibodeau has been doing with his rotations lately. I love the rotations. I think, the overtime victory against the Atlanta Hawks was telling about who's getting the most minutes. I mean, Ariel Hukporti doesn't really get a lot of burn. I wish he got more. But you look at the minutes against the Hawks, the last time the Knicks played basketball, Brunson, Bridges, and Precious had 42 minutes. Josh Hart, 46 minutes. Cat, 47 minutes, right? And then off the bench, Landry Shamet, only 18 minutes. And then Cameron Payne with 15 minutes. And then Deuce McBride, he only played 8 minutes because of the injury. But good news is, again, we should be expecting Deuce to be back tonight. So I think the minutes distribution is going to be on, because the Knicks got to make sure they are prioritizing the benefit of the health, right? They got to make sure they do that. So I think that the Knicks are going to win tonight by a landslide. I really think it's going to be one of those games. Or we see one of those usual cardiac Knick games where, like, yo, why are the Knicks struggling against Chicago? Oh, boy. But at the end of the day, the Knicks are just so loaded on paper. There's so many guys to be excited about for tonight's matchup. And I think that with the addition of OG Anunoby back, and with the development of Cat and Jalen Brunson, the way that they're playing basketball as of late, there's no reason why we should be, questioning this Knicks team moving forward. So the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up the show, folks, is my expectations for the New York Knicks heading into this back end of the season. Where will they finish in the Eastern Conference standings? Are they going to be the third seed? Do they have a chance to catch the Boston Celtics? They do, but it's unrealistic. I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference standings, they're right behind them. They were right behind them, actually, like legit, before their game last week, but not the case anymore. I believe the Knicks, when it comes to the Boston Celtics, if I pull up the standings, they're the third seed, of course. The Knicks are, I believe, 3.5 games or 3 games behind Boston. They're 8 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers for first place. The Knicks are on a 2-game winning streak right now. The Cavs are on a 4-game winning streak. The fun thing about the Knicks, Cavs, and Celtics that they all have in common right now is they are all 8-2 in their last 10 games. So they're all playing good basketball as of late. And the Knicks got the Celtics on Sunday, which everybody's going to be tuning into 110%, right? But they also got Cleveland tomorrow on Friday, which is going to be a 7 p.m. tip-off. So these next 3 games is going to be telling. I think that the Knicks have every single reason to win 2 of these next 3 games, hopefully starting tonight. And then the Knicks are back against the Philadelphia 76ers Wednesday at home, I believe. Or no, that one is, at home. And then they're in Memphis next Friday. So the Knicks are going to be playing a lot of interesting teams, and they got to be able to go after it, man. They got to be able to go after it, and I'm really excited about it. So I think that the Knicks are going to get the job done tonight against Chicago. And then all eyes are going to be on the Knicks versus that Cavs game tomorrow. I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're such a fun team to watch. They are also very good at home. The Cavs are 25-4 on their home floor. 25-4 at home. Do I have to say that again? 25-4 at home for the Cavaliers. The Knicks are really good on the road for their metrics. 17-8 the New York Knicks are on the road. So that's going to be a great game. The Boston Celtics, they're pretty beatable at home. The Celtics are actually better on the road. The Celtics are 17-10 at home. So the Knicks going into Boston on Sunday, that's going to be big, because if there was a deep rivalry in this league, it's between the Knicks and the Celtics. I mean, I know the Celtics have been getting the better of the Knicks for years, but I would love to see a playoff series between them. It's been a while since they matched up against each other in the playoffs. I think it's going to be must-see TV. The Celtics are the champions, man. And as a Knicks fan, I want to be able to go up against the Celtics and beat them. When we added Mikal Bridges this offseason and we signed OG long-term, I thought to myself, that's it right there. The Knicks are building 2 wings to be able to neutralize Boston, but we haven't been able to beat them yet. We really haven't. So the Knicks are going to have to be able to prove that they can stack up against the best in the East this next few games, man. And, of course, starts tonight against Chicago. And then we have to go up against the Cleveland Cavaliers next. And then it's all eyes on the Knicks versus the Boston Celtics. So by the next time I'm talking to you guys here on Bleacher Report, that's going to be Tuesday. And we're going to get through all 3 of these games. And I'm curious, are the Knicks 3-0 in these games? 2-1? Or 1-2? Do the Knicks beat the Bulls tonight and then lose both of these games coming up? Or do the Knicks go 0-3 and they're in a weird little downward adversity strike? Or are they 3-0? Woo! It's going to be a lot of fun what the Knicks are going to be doing. Josh Hart is again ruled out tonight if you guys missed that news, but OG Anunoby is back. So that's really the latest. All the latest news for the New York Knicks. I'm glad that I was able to provide you guys all the latest right here on Knicks Media. Make sure you guys follow me on Bleacher Report for all your latest, and make sure you guys do me a favor. Download the Bleacher Report app, make an account, follow me over there on Bleacher Report. I'm covering the Knicks and the Jets here, and of course, don't forget to hit the like button if you guys enjoy the content. Love you guys so much. Let's go Knicks, and hopefully we can get the job done tonight, against Chicago, and then we keep on moving and grooving. And hopefully we can get the job done against Boston and Cleveland. Peace out, folks. Have a great rest of your night.